All right. This one got me. Yeah, this one got me bad. From Project Veritas. Dean of Students brags about teaching queer sex. Children play with... I'll get more specific in a bit, but adult toys, we'll put it that way. Okay. This is the story. A viral video where Joseph Bruno, Dean of Students for Francis W. Parker School, a high school in Chicago, goes on and on. This is crazy. In this clip from Veritas, he keeps saying it. How cool it is that these kids are passing these things around, playing with lube and spit to figure out how to work these devices. And I'm just like, okay, that was bad enough, but it gets worse. The response from the school is in, and they're defending it. My friends, this past week, it's been hard. I mean, look, no, in all seriousness, we've had trespassers, break-ins, shots fired, and threats. So it's bad when I'm looking at that stuff. I'm looking at all the crime and everything, and I'm like, this country is falling apart. Then you see this story, and you're like, okay, this has to be the line, right? This is the line. It's not. It's not. Take a look at this. Francis W. Parker School in Chicago, Illinois, where the Dean of Students, Joseph Bruno, was caught on video talking about giving students, we'll get more specific in a bit, adult objects for their bums, sent out this email to parents saying they stand with the dean. Here's their message. A message to the community regarding an incident this evening. Dear Parker community, we are writing to let you know that one of our employees while at a conference last week was targeted by a right-wing fringe group of individuals that seeks to undermine and manipulate diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Oh, so now it's DABE in schools. This evening, the group showed up outside the school and attempted to confront and ambush the employee with aggressive questions. A handful of students and family members were present. This incident is very upsetting, and we stand in full support of our employee. We have put additional security measures in place, and we will notify the community should there be any additional activity from this group regarding our school, blah, 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 blah. We advise members of our community not to engage with any organization that fits the general profile. All right, here we go. I'm going to play some for you.
Some dildos to my students, talking about queer sex, using lube versus using spit.
Meet Joe Bruno, Dean of Students at the prestigious Francis W. Parker Private School in Chicago, which happens to charge $40,000 per student.
They're just like passing around dildos, butt plugs. The kids are just playing with them. They're like, how does this butt plug work? How does this work? That's a really cool part of my job.
Parents might be stunned to learn that Bruno's version of love and acceptance means handing out sex toys to underage students.
So I've been the dean for 4 years. During Pride, we do a Pride Week every year.
Okay, this guy, he just keeps saying it. The craziest thing about it is he says it like 5 times. And I understand. Veritas often will show you the lead, the hard quote, describe things, then replay a longer portion. But no, this dude actually just keeps saying it, bragging about it. Wow. Okay, so look, I don't want to play the full. It's bad enough. So here's what we're gonna do. Here's my advice to you guys. We're gonna read a little bit more about this because James O'Keefe got a response from the school directly about the video saying it was manipulated or edited. Incredible. But as I wake up this morning dealing with this insanity of a past week and month, you know what I did? I pulled up 90s commercials on YouTube.
Here comes something big from Extra Sugar-Free Gum. It's
Extra Sugar-Free Gum.
Sweet and a great classic bubblegum flavor.
Oh, the bubblegum's too big.
Classic bubblegum.
Oh, jeez.
And since
the bubblegum's so big, it's pushing her.
An extra long time.
Come back in time with me, friends, to the 90s commercials, volume 416, and watch a woman be pushed aside by a large bubble gum while she laughs and tells you to chew bubble gum. Oh, man, I don't know. There's another one in here I think it's like the first one, actually. Evander Holyfield, is that his name?
With sausage
trying to
is
sell
only
you
59
breakfast,
cents.
buddy.
That's a good deal.
That's
but
a
I'm
good
the
deal,
real
my
deal.
friend. That's a good deal.
Let's not fight about it. Smart
No,
move.
don't fight about it. Look at that. A coffee, hash browns, and what is it? Egg sausage on a bun, $1.59. Oh, those were the good old days, my friends. Those were the good old days. You know, it's funny because, like, in all seriousness, after watching this, no joke, I'm like, we saw this last night, and we were just dumbfounded by it. What we said about groomers in schools, it's worse than people realize, and it's getting worse. And the school, I'll play this Veritas clip for you because they responded to James. The school is outright like, you're not going to stop us. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it. And no one's going to do anything about it. And so I wake up and I'm like, I'm going to get my coffee, and I'm out of cream. And I'm like, oh no, I'd use whipped cream. So I got this weird whipped cream coffee. Ugh. Then I got to watch this video about a dude giving kids butt plugs. Yo, I've never been more tempted to go live in a van down by the river. So you know what I did? I said, I'm going to pull up commercials from the 90s and just sit back. And I couldn't stop watching them. So it's funny because it reminds me of, like, you know, any older generation where they're like, I remember the good old days back before they were giving kids butt plugs in school. I mean, that's going to be me when I'm like 50, and you. And that's only 13 years. Oh no, I'm going to be 37 in a few months. Man, what do we do? No, serious. This is look. Veritas exposes that this guy is bragging about giving kids lube or having them spit on butt plugs and dildos. And the school defends it. I'm like, you'd think that would be the line where they're like, okay, we're busted. So I can't tell you where we go, as I often say it. I can only tell you that, come on. You think this country still exists? Look, it's one thing when the hippies came out and were screaming free speech. And they're like, oh, these dang hippies. It's one thing when you have civil rights and people are like, the Constitution says this. It's another thing when you go through 2 years of pandemic lockdown, churches being closed, businesses being destroyed, schools grooming kids, Antifa violence, and now this. So, part of me, I'm mad at Veritas. No, I'm looking at you, James. I see you on that screen. I'm sitting here, trying to keep things on track, have a cup of coffee, and James, you come here and expose a guy talking about how he's giving kids butt plugs and dildos. And I'm just like, hey, why you gotta upset me like that? I'm kidding, by the way. Good work, James. I seriously, where would we be without real journalists like this? In all seriousness, let me play this clip for you.
All right, emergency press conference, Project Veritas. We have a statement hot off the press from Dan Frank, principal of the Francis W. Parker School in Highland Park, Chicago. This is in reaction to the latest bombshell report hot off the press. Let's see what it says. Will they fire the dean? Will they condemn what he said? No, they're taking an interesting approach here. Listen to this. Last week at the National Association of Independent Schools People of Color Conference, one of our employees was targeted by the group and misled to believe he was conversing with another conference attendee over a coffee. He was filmed without his knowledge or permission while describing one example of our inclusive, affirming, and comprehensive approach to sex education. This group, Project Veritas, has now edited the video with malicious intent. That's interesting. We'll talk about that in a minute. And launched it publicly tonight. Please know this video contains descriptive language. If you choose to view it, we ask you not to share it because it will add to its viral power. So they're saying that we edited it with malicious intent. Literally his words. There are no edits. It's just him talking about dildos and butt plugs and spit and awful things about with 14-year-old girls getting this information. I don't know what, there's no edit. What are they talking about edit? Are they saying he didn't say these things? Then sue me. Sue me. By the way, we never lost a defamation lawsuit. That's because we don't edit anything.
Give this man your money. Give James O'Keefe money. Give him more money.
Properly. Earlier this week, the same group, Veritas, attempted to ambush our employee at the school and was escorted off campus without incident. Well, we have that video coming tomorrow. Your characterization is maliciously edited, by the way.
I like that.
Compared to what we actually have on video. It's always interesting how that works. Well, we have no reason to believe there is a threat to the physical security. I work with the Alderman's office, and police has implemented higher security measures. These are underage children being given anal sex toys. Anyway, we're sickened by the group's tactics. The invasion happened. We'll be meeting with middle and upper school students tomorrow to support some guidance. Here's the statement. You'll see it on our Twitter page. Stay tuned for tomorrow.
You'd think that the school would come out and be like, yo, that's not supposed to happen. You cannot give children butt plugs and dildos. Then tell them to lube them up or spit on them. In the video, the dude talks about how kids are like, how do I get it in? And it's just like, okay, I'm gonna put it this way, because we talked about it last night. I deal with legal stuff. You always do when you run a business. There's tons of legal stuff going on behind the scenes. People don't know about it. You don't talk about it because when you let the courts handle it. So when you're dealing with lawsuits, only fools go out and start screaming about what's happening in their case, because you're just going to be weaponized in court. But, there's something called defamation. You guys know, of course. I'm not saying you don't know. And I made a tweet, should I sue the person defaming me on YouTube? And a lot of people responded with, defamation is too hard to sue. You need to prove actual malice, public figure, anti-slap, blah, blah, blah. Y'all are correct. And then I tweeted defamation per se. Okay, there's a difference. Defamation per se is when the defamation is so egregious, you don't need to prove damages, and there is no actual malice standard. That is, if you were to accuse someone of being afflicted by something, maybe a contagious disease or some kind of deranged perversion or, mental disorder of sorts, that's defamation per se. So I'll give you an example. If somebody were to watch this video of this man, Joseph Bruno, let me see if we can, let's see if we can get the video to play properly. Okay, I'll refresh it. Because Twitter does that. It's so annoying. There you go. There he is. You can see that's Joseph Bruno. If someone were to play this video for the average person, hearing him talk about giving children these things, he says he's in the room and stuff like that, they would say that Joseph Bruno is a pedophile. That's what they would say. And arguably, some people would say that would be defamation per se. However, defamation per se is only in the context, or I should say typically, when you have no justification for saying such a thing. So if you go on your show and say something like someone has to wear a beanie to keep their pedophilia in or something like that, you could argue there's no basis for this. There's no argument for it, and it's defamation per se. However, you could also argue clearly no one uses beanies to hold in pedophilia or anything like that. But my point here is this guy is on camera explaining how he is going to children and giving them sex toys. Okay, let's be clear. Having his health educators bring them to his children in his school while he watches, and they lube them up, and they could be 14 years old, and that I believe is grounds for a person, perhaps someone watching this would say, Bruno is a pedophile. They're groomers. That's what they'd say, because of this. This is what's happening in our schools. And ignorance is bliss. We want to sit back. We want to pretend these things aren't happening, but my friends, it is beyond anything you've thought. It is worse. It is getting worse. And I'm just sick of hearing it, man. I'm sick of hearing the people who go on Twitter and they're like, it's not getting worse. It's the grifters on YouTube. And I'm just like, I see these people where they say, oh, it's a grift. Nothing bad is happening. It's all lies. I have I follow these leftists on Facebook, and they're like, it's one school, nothing's happening. And I'm like, it's been going on for years. It started with the book depicting a blowjob. We had Bryson Gray on the show the other day. Shout out, Bryson. And he sits down at the table, and we have the book Genderqueer, where it depicts the blowjob in it. And he's like, what is this? And he's looking through it, and then we explain it to him, and he's like, what? And we were like, bro, you didn't know about this? He's like, no. We're like, this is what's going on in schools. So, a year ago, we have this problem. A year later, they're not, I'm telling you guys, they didn't just bring in a book showing kids this adult content. They did that last year. Now they're literally bringing the toys in for the kids to pass around and play with and spit on and lube up. Okay. And then when the guy gets caught, clearly, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty sure this is illegal. I'm pretty sure this is a crime, right? Like, if you went to a school and handed something like that to a kid, you'd be arrested and have to register as a sex offender. How are these people not being arrested? Chicago, Illinois. There's a reason I left. If you are a police officer in Chicago, why are you not arresting these people? No standards, no culture, no morals, no ethics. Okay. If the police are not going to go in and arrest people who are clearly in violation of the law, then abolish the police, because they ain't doing anything. Parents, get your kids out of these schools. Spread the word. The school deleted their social media account. The first thing I thought was with that first response where they were like, we were targeted. I assumed I assumed they didn't know exactly what was filmed. And so they were like, oh, here we go, some right-wing group. And the video comes out. And I'm like, okay, are they going to come out now and be like, hey, we were wrong, this is bad? No, they came out and said it's maliciously edited. I think James should sue them for saying that. I think James should sue them. Maliciously edited, showing a guy saying exactly what he did. This should be a criminal referral. But why is it not? It's because this country doesn't exist anymore. Look, there's a reason why I brought up the 90s commercial. I gotta admit, it is somewhat soothing to imagine going back in time to being a small child watching these silly commercials. The commercials are soothing not because the 90s were peaceful and beautiful. The 90s actually had a whole bunch of crazy things happening. Let's be real. It's because you were a kid and you didn't know about these things. And you watch these commercials. So it brings you back to a time when you weren't seeing this stuff. But I tell you, man, your parents were seeing a lot of this stuff. You can ask them by the back, oh, yeah, there was stuff always going on. This is the fray. This is the fight. But I got to be honest. It's never been this bad. So there is an element to it. You go back to watch these 90 commercials, and it's like being back in time before things got as bad as they did. I was at an antique store talking to a guy who's in his 60s, and I said, have you ever seen it this bad? And he says, no, never seen it this bad. Yeah, the country is broken. It doesn't exist anymore. The FBI can go after a garage pull rope, 12 agents or whatever, but they can't stop what's going on at these schools. It's probably because they agree with it. This country has been gutted, and it is nothing but people trying to exercise raw power. That's what the censorship is. That's what the FBI is doing. That's what the military is doing. There is no cohesive plan. There is no unified body of people. There is no American way anymore. In the sense that there are ideals that have existed, they still exist. But the country does not uphold them anymore. So here we are. I think this is going to go to a very dark place very, very quickly. I beg and pray that we do not see violence. I beg and pray. Let's go back to the 90s and watch Taco Bell commercials or whatever. What was the saying for Taco Bell back then? I don't know. Let's go back and just ignore everything, right? Because here's what I think is coming. I wonder who this guy is, by the way. Like, there's this guy on my screen. I don't even know who he is. Or how about this bubblegum lady? Like, I wonder what she's up to, Like, she's still alive, right? She's got to be in her 20s. And this commercials, I think this set of commercials from 1992. So she's got to be like in her late 50s. What is this? Are you watching this, lady? Where are you at? Can you tell? You know what? I want to find this lady. I want her to tell me what it was like. You're doing this bubblegum commercial about how everything is good and the bubble's pushing on you and you're laughing and it's extra sweet and stuff. And now we got teachers giving kids dildos. So you tell me what it was like. Okay, I get it. There are people who comment below. You're Gen Xer. You're in your late 40s, 50s. Boomers, comment. Most of the people who watch this are millennials around my age, a little bit younger maybe. Comment. Tell me about it. Tell me about the good old days. No, I'm sure you got stories to tell of things that were bad, but did you ever think it was going to become like this? Watching this video from Project Veritas, I think James has done a great service to this nation, exposing just how bad it is. I also think because there is no cohesive structure to this nation, the next thing we're going to see is violence. Bryson Gray said he thought 10 years. I said, how long until we see people just outright being like, I have no confidence in the government, their laws don't apply. And he was like, 10 years. I'm like, I don't know. I think 4. I could be wrong. But you watch a video like this from Project Veritas. You watch a video like that. And you think that it's going to take 10 years? Bryce didn't know about the genderqueer book, man. No, I don't think it'll take 10 years. I think we're headed towards a civil war. And I will say it again. After everything you've seen and everything I've shown, tell me now, after watching this, that you think it's not coming. I don't want it to happen. I want to just go skate. You know, we're building a new facilities. I want to be left alone. I want to skate. Gone are the days 6 years ago where I was doing videos about movies. When we launched Timcast IRL, we talked about Sonic the Hedgehog. Hey, Sonic the Hedgehog is out. That was a fun movie. He spins around and collects golden rings. Now it's like, and now a few years later, this is where we are? Incredible. Do you think, honest question, after watching this, seeing the school defend it, seeing this as an escalation of what's already been happening, tell me you think we are not headed for a civil war? In Florida, they say you can't do this stuff with kids. Well, this high school was 14, 18-year-olds. I remember that meme back in the day when they were like, if you legalize gay marriage, they're going to start teaching kids how to be gay in school. And everyone's like, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. They're quite literally teaching kids how to have gay sex. I mean, I don't even know what a butt plug does. Like, I know they put it in their butt, but like, I don't get it. I can understand the dildo thing. But I guess you need an education to understand what the purpose of that stuff is. How about that? Or how about it is damaging to your body? It is wrong. You shouldn't be showing kids this stuff. Kids, children. They're doing this to children. All right. Here's what I'm going to do, my friends. I got an idea. You're going to love this. I want to open a hotel. And I want to open a hotel, and I want to make it's going to be like you ever go to a Homewood Suites or anything like that? So it's like a 1-bedroom apartment that you rent. They're nice, but what we're going to do is when you walk in that door, everything is from the 90s, or you can go into a room where everything's from the 80s, or a room where everything's from the 70s. The TV, you turn it on, it'll be like the old UHF, VHF, and you'll like twist the knob. And then we'll have like a Raspberry Pi or something playing an auto loop of a full day of TV with like 5 channels. You can watch the news. And then we'll have pizza and stuff in the fridge where it's like, it'll look just like it was in that time period. The furniture, everything, the phone on the wall. You can pick up the phone and you can dial out. The windows will have TV screens. So when you open the blinds, it looks like a window, but you're actually looking at a screen, and it'll show you something like you'll look outside and you'll see whatever it looked like in the 80s and 90s. And this will be people's ways to calm down, to release their tension. I've talked about building that for a while. It's a serious undertaking, which I would really love to do. Wouldn't that be like the coolest thing ever? You'd be like, I'm going to stay one night in the 90s room. And you can just like chill and like order a pizza, and a guy shows up wearing the uniform because it's all part of the bit. You turn the TV on and you watch an all new episode of The Simpsons. You know, airing Thursdays at 7 or whatever. You put on Fox local news and they're like, a dog escaped. Now, you'll be hearing about like Desert Storm and stuff. Don't get me wrong. There was bad stuff for sure. But, let people go back. No, I was thinking about that. And I'm like, old people talk about the good old days all the time. Are young people going to grow up in this and be like, this is normal? You see, that's the point. When we talk about the good old days, there are older people who are like, you don't even understand. And then they talk about like riding their bikes around their neighborhood in the 80s and how it was better or whatever. I mean, that was Cold War, so probably scarier in a certain sense. But this is the natural state of the world, my friends. Conflict. And what we're seeing right now is that the U.S. has no culture. This is the culture war. We talked about it 10 years ago. Shout out to my good friend Carl Benjamin, who is on the front lines. He's in the UK, but he's been talking about this stuff for a while. And this is what it led to. Where do you think we will be in 5 years? You think this is going to stop? So here's my advice. After watching this, Google 90s commercials and just give yourself 10 minutes to watch with a smile on your face and be like, yeah, look at those silly old commercials with low quality audio and low resolution, grainy VHS style. And just breathe. Let it all out. I don't have any answers for you, my friends. I can only tell you that I think violence will come, and I pray it doesn't. But I think you'd have to be an insane person to watch a video like this and think there's not going to be violence. I pray there's none. I pray the police come in and walk up to this man and put him in cuffs and arrest him. And that there's I think the school should be shut down. I think the feds should go in. I think there should be an investigation. This is grooming. But I fear that that won't happen. And I fear that because it won't happen, someone's going to go nuts. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.